let's cut it off there. How's everybody doing? We're going to keep this one real casual. It's how I like to do it anyway, but that's the song we're working on. If you happen to catch the last live stream, I was mixing some drums on that. We were doing some things where we pitched down the toms on the drum fills. I was saying in that last stream that, if you use samples as opposed to live drums like we do here, it already has that built into most samples because it's a cool sound. It's just something that's naturally developed over time with drum machines and things. That pitch down sound, a lot of people do it on every kick drum hit, but it's one of those tedious things that takes a lot of extra time, or you get pretty quick at it, a little extra time, but you have to, take the time to do it. And it's something that new engineers might not think about. And this live stream is as much for those people as for anybody. If you're learning to record, I've got some things I can show you to help get you on your way and get things sounding better. And that's what the focus of these live streams has been. I want to talk about some housekeeping things to begin with. First of all, since I've been doing these live streams, I've been doing them very regularly, 3 times a week for about the last 2 weeks. My first live stream was 2.5 weeks ago, I think, something like that. And while I've been doing the live streams, I haven't been creating my regular YouTube videos. And it's taking a while to get these views up, on the live stream, because people were unaware that I was doing it, for one thing, and the algorithm doesn't know what you're doing. I've been doing regular YouTube videos for 2 years, but I've never done a live stream till recently. So if you go on and subscribe to the channel, it will really help me out, because my subscribers have completely stopped. I was getting maybe 5 a week off my regular videos recently, and then they've just stopped since I've started doing my live streams. But the good news about that is every live stream, starting at 0 on the views, has doubled. Doubling every time from very low viewers still isn't a very high number, but if you look at it like that, like it's doubling every time, then that's good. But if you dig this kind of music content, like hearing original music, like learning how to mix, like guitar stuff, all instruments. I do drum videos, I play bass, I play synth. I've done some synth stuff on the streams and on the regular videos. If you dig that kind of stuff, man, subscribe. And I really encourage people, if you catch any of the live stream while we're live, chat, put something in the comments, say what's up, tell me about how you work in your studio or how you play music. Is music making you money right now? That's something that we're all probably struggling with, some more than others. And I just want to keep this casual. I'm to the point now on this song where the vocal process has started, and I want to talk about that. The way my live stream works, the way everything's set up, I can't really track vocals in a way that's gonna be you're gonna be able to tell where it's gonna sound good live, to get my levels right, because everything's got latency if you're going back through the DAW. So I could play, sing a part and then do the playback and it would sound good then. But the way I work with vocals is usually I'm writing in the studio, and it's never usually my first write that makes the end of the song. So we're not even going to attempt to do that, but I do want to talk about my vocal template and how I go about writing vocals and how I go about mixing vocals, and that was going to be the focus of this live stream. But if you all have something other than that you would like to talk about, please put it in the chat and we'll talk about it. Outside, I just want to mention the weather, because it's been a crazy hot summer. Hard to keep guitars in tune. I was struggling with that on the first live stream because we were still in the middle of this heat. Now it feels like fall. Like over the weekend, the temperature just dropped. It feels great outside. I'm ready for fall after this crazy summer, and it just feels good outside. I was just outside, and I came in, and my cat. I have this new kitten, right, and he's cool as hell. He's cute and he's lovey, but he gets wild, especially at nighttime. And I have this rolled up newspaper, and I just hit my hand when he's into something he shouldn't be, and that pop scares him, right? Well, this is the second time he's done it. When I came in from outside, he has destroyed that newspaper, so he's getting his revenge on me. Y'all have animals. We're big animal people, animal lovers in this house, and it's just funny, man, because it's been a while since I've had a kitten, and my little boy's 5, so I thought we'd get him a young cat, and they can kind of grow up together or whatever. But this cat, I put him down some wet cat food, and he jumps up and grabs my arm, and he's still got his claws, so he can, without even knowing it, he can be pretty dangerous. So we got to watch that. But it's a trip because he's so he really gets going at night. Cats, I guess, are nocturnal, and you can really see it in him. It's funny. But y'all have animals? Put that in the chat. Put everything in the chat because, like I said, my views have been doubling. Even while I'm live, I've been noticing people being on the stream, but I'm not getting any chats, right? And that's the whole point of a live stream, is to have that interaction. And I really kind of am enjoying not having views in a way, because it's giving me time to work out the little kinks with the way I do things. The first live stream I did, it wasn't looking good at all. I got a new webcam, so we fixed that. The new webcam is a Osspot Tiny 2 webcam. Really cool. It'll follow you around the room. I think I've got it set up. Let me see if it's following me. And it's not right now. But if I do this, it'll blink and then it'll start following me around. Right? So I can go anywhere in the studio and it'll follow me around. There's the drums, guitars. We need to do a studio tour. Maybe I'll make that my next regular YouTube video that's not a live stream, because I need to put one out. I've just really been enjoying these live streams because I don't have to put a lot of thought or video editing into it. I just turn on the camera and start talking about, what's going on. And it's easy to do when I'm in the middle of a song. And I'm always either in the writing process or mixing process. I'm always constantly working on something, because you have to be proficient if you're going to get out any material at all, let alone good material. So let's talk a little bit about what's been going on since the last live stream. The last live stream, I think, was Saturday night, Sunday night, I can't remember. Friday night, Saturday, over the weekend sometime was the last live stream. And it might have been Sunday night. And we were doing the mixing on the drums. And I'm really happy with how everything turned out. I did a couple of these automations where I pitched down things with the Wave Sound Shifter plugin. Let me put the screen up here so you can see the DAW, and then I'll put me down in the corner as well so you can see both aspects. Alright, so what we've got is, that's the song you heard when the live stream started. And everything's pretty much like it was if you caught any of the last live stream. But I did do a little bit of arrangement changing. That synth part you heard when I cut off the music, let me play this section. This was at the beginning, and it worked. I changed it to a more kind of industrial sounding synth part at the beginning, because I wanted it to come in really rockin'. And then this part is more melodic, and what I did is I took out a guitar It's basically the same part, but I took out one of the guitars, the real heavy kind of improvised part that I played at the beginning. I took that out and put the synth part in that I had at the beginning. So I moved some things around. Arrangement is one of those things that is very satisfying, because when you start out, if you're creating in the studio, you don't know where things are going a lot of the time. And then once you get the music finished, for me, usually the last thing is putting on the drums with the music, and then vocals comes after that. But once the music gets finished before the vocals, after the drums go on, usually the last thing, sometimes I'll put in some additional like guitar feedback or extra percussion, which I'm going to do some of those things on this as well. But I have the arrangement now like I want it. And it takes a while, you know, you have to get the project finished to work out a lot of these decisions, and that's what I've done here. And so let me play the intro again so you can hear how that synth part sounds. And then if we go to the other section that I switched around, you can hear that it's missing a guitar that part had. It's the same riff on the baritone guitar, but it's missing the other standard tune improvised guitar, and the synth part is different. So let's listen to that. But it's playing over the same guitar riff. So I feel like the song slows down a little, or it goes through a transition, and then when that guitar drops off, it feels almost like it chills out the music a little bit, even though you've got that heavy riff going on. And I really felt like that synth part, I had two synth parts over that same guitar riff, and I really felt like instead of having that at the beginning, it worked better where I moved it to. So that's what we've done there. I also took a few of those automations that I was doing, where I dropped down the drum fills and pitched them down. I'll show you what those look like again in case you didn't see the stream. Let's turn on the automation screen. So you can see here on the drum bus, that's the device on automation. But if we go to the pitch sense, you can see, let me zoom in, and I'm doing it on the drum bus, on the rooms bus, and on the parallel compression bus, and they're all the same curves. So this is like a tom hit, and it's pitching down and then back up before the cymbal crash or the next tom hit. So that's what we did on those automations. I had two of them done when I started the last live stream, and then I did two more, and then since the live stream I finished off. So I think I have like 6 of those automations, and I think that's all the fills. I need to go back and listen. Maybe I've missed one and need to pitch those down as well. But I like to go through and do that because I really feel like it adds to the song and adds to the power of those drum fills. So let's look at the template that I use, and it's a pretty simple template because I usually just put my template in on a lead vocal track, but I usually almost always double my lead vocal, and then I most times add quite a few background vocals, and I just add those tracks. Sometimes I duplicate this lead vocal track for the double, change around the plugins a little bit, do a little bit of different processing. A lot of times I'll use this mic. Since I've gotten this mic, this is the mic I use for lead vocals, and sometimes I'll use the Royer R10 for background vocals or the Royer R10 for the double. It just depends. I like to switch up the mics for different vocals, and I'll usually do some different processing. So the plugins I have on here, none of them are armed right now, and this is just the basic plugins. I usually always will have a decapitator on here too. I don't have it in my template because I don't always use it. but really it's one I thought that was in the template. But most of the time as well, I'll add a vocal bus. So I'll send everything out to a vocal bus. I'll have a lead vocal bus with the lead vocal and the double. Both of those tracks going to a single bus, and then I'll have a background vocal bus as well, which is just however many background vocals I have. If I sing a high part and a whisper track, or a lower, you know, bassy background vocal, or one that's got some crazy processing on it that's filtered in a crazy way or something, I'll send all of those to a background vocal bus. So I can do like global vocal moves on the buses with processing, with EQ, um, with different, compression. And then sometimes if I just need a little bit of extra level out of the vocal, I'll just run it to this drum parallel compression bus. Because really, as long as it's hitting your compressor and getting a level bump, it doesn't really matter too much what the compressor's doing to me, as long as it's in parallel anyway. So you're just blending in a little bit for me to get a little bit of a level bump on the vocals and on the drums and on whatever else you want to send to it. So even though I have this labeled as drums parallel or drums DBX, it's really to send anything I want to do in parallel to. So if we look, a lot of times I'll have Pro Q4 or the Kirchhoff EQ that I'll put on the bus, because I'll usually dip out some 2 to 3K, because my vocals can be harsh in that range, and I'll boost some 10K. This United Twin 87 is great about giving you some extra top end. It sounds, the vocals sound very finished a lot of times through this microphone. You just have to do a little bit of extra processing. I usually always high pass my vocal tracks, all of them. Even the lead vocal, I'll high pass maybe around 100. And this microphone has a high pass. Sometimes I've been experimenting with that. Sometimes I do the high passing on the mic. Usually I just do it in the DAW. So Pro Q4 is great. It's a great plugin. You can really see where things are, on that display, like the graphic EQ that you see, the graph of the EQ. You can really see what's spiking and what you need to cut, and maybe what you need to boost as well. I do almost like a smiley face EQ, where I boost top end. I don't do a whole lot to the low end. I high pass. Sometimes I'll boost a little bit in the low mids, just depending. But usually I'm always cutting around 350 and high passing. So my voice is low anyway, and I find that I need to really get back from the microphone a little bit. So I'm not getting that proximity effect, because it can really get aggressively low endy if I'm too far up on the mic. So the pop filter is something new for me. I just got that pop filter. Actually, it came with some other gear, like free. So I was like, I'll put a pop filter. I feel like unless you're singing right up on the mic, I don't need it for my vocals. They're not too sibilant or poppy. But that's using a condenser microphone, and I stay back off of it as well. So if you're using something like a SM7B and right up on it, yeah, maybe you need a pop vocal more than I do. But I've got it. I'm going to put it up, see how it works on these vocals. So I'll put usually a decapitator on. Sometimes I'll do like a Filter Freak plugin on some of the other vocals. And for the last 2 projects, I haven't used any type of tuning on my vocals. If there was a part that felt out to me, I just resung it, right? And get it closer to where it feels better. Maybe I change the phrasing a little bit if I can't hit the note. I don't like to use a lot of tuning. I have on most songs done some tuning. I don't use auto-tune. I'll show you what I use. because I feel like everybody's using auto-tune. It's an expensive plugin, which I don't mind that, but like auto-tune I think is mostly subscription, isn't it? I guess you can buy it, but like a lot of people get it on subscription. I know there's Melodyne too, but like I tried this Waves Real Tune, or Waves Tune Real Time is what I use. So let's take a look at that. Hold on, I accidentally hit the wrong plugin. But let's open up the Waves Tune so you can see what it looks like. So this is the Waves Tune. It's pretty simple, and it does what you want it to do, right? A lot of times I'll come off chromatic because that's giving you like every half step interval, and a lot of times that's not what I want. I try, and if I'm gonna tune, I'll use something like harmonic minor, natural minor. Just I'll try a few of these preset scales to put it in. Usually I put it on tenor. That's where my voice is most of the time. If I want to like double and do something high, maybe I'll put it up to alto. But like I said, the last 2 or 3 projects, I know the last 2 I haven't done any tuning. I think the one before that I might have tuned 2 notes. The most I've ever tuned in a song was one whole verse. I just left it on for one whole verse because I liked that verse better with the tuning on than I did without it for that verse of that song. So I experiment with everything, right? If I feel like a vocal, even if I don't feel like it's out or sounds weird, if I feel like it sounds good, I'll still put this on, turn it on, and just see what it does, and if I like the effect. I try not to make it noticeable. I don't like a lot of tuning, like like that T-Pain thing, or back when auto-tune first came out, it was Cher doing it, kind of made it famous. And then now I feel like people kind of sing with auto-tune built in their voice, and it's weird. But that's what I use, that Waves Real Tune. I think you can get it a lot of times for $30, if you want to tune your stuff. And like I said, it's something that does come in handy at times, because even though I don't like to tune, if everything's working good and just one note's off, I'll do the automation, turn it on, fix that note, and get that right. It does have a thing about it, and I think they all do, where it changes the sound, and I usually find that with my chain, my chain for vocals is this United Twin 87. This is for lead vocals, and for backgrounds I usually just change the mic. Sometimes I'll change the preamp, but I go U87 or Twin 87 into the BAE 1073 mic preamp, which is like the vocal mic preamp everybody uses, a Neve 1073. BAE's the same thing, like a new Neve, right? Mine doesn't have the EQ, by the way. Mine's just the mic preamp and line preamp, but it sounds great. And then I go into, it's the Twin 87 into the BAE 1073, then into the Audioscape 76D compressor, and then into the interface in the computer. So that's the chain I use for the vocals, and usually for one of the background vocals. Then sometimes I'll switch the mic. Sometimes I'll use this mic for everything and just do some different processing. A lot of times it doesn't matter. You can even switch the microphone from cardioid to figure 8. For a while, for a lot of my songs actually, the lead vocal is this microphone in figure 8 because I like that sound. This microphone has a great figure 8 pattern. A lot of times I'll use it in figure 8. Your proximity effect can be a little bit enhanced. And then if you go into Omni, it's actually, you can get a little bit less proximity effect in Omni. But I'm singing usually quite far back off the mic, so it doesn't affect it much when I'm in figure 8. I'll usually track vocals from right here in this position, but I move the mic so it's not uh, like so it's not on axis with a wall. So to try and minimize any reflections. One of these plugins that I have here, most of the time actually I don't use it as well, but it's on here in case I need it. This is called Max Volume, and it's great for it's got like a gate to, so you can get out any kind of room reverb if you want to get it out. So you just slide down this gate. It's a leveler too, so it's a leveler and a gate, and you can do different things with it. When I use it, if I need it, I usually only use it for the gate. It's a good gate, a really natural sounding gate, so it's not giving you a sharp roll off or anything like that. Also, if you have problems with that, with getting reflections from walls wherever you're tracking vocals, a good thing to do is use like an expander on like a Neve 1073 plugin, or any mic preamp or channel strip plugin is usually going to have an expander on there, and usually it'll be like an expander slash gate. If you switch it to expander, it's more of a natural, like it kind of just pushes the cutoff, instead of being a dramatic cutoff that can get choppy if you use it too aggressively. It expands into cutting off the sound, and it works in a more natural way, I feel. You don't have to tweak the settings as much with an expander. You just get the quieting of the vocals in a more natural way. I'll show you. Let me pull up that plugin so you can see the difference between expander and gate. Hold on just a minute. So this is a Lindell 80 series, so it's a Neve 1073 or 1084. The EQ, you can switch between them. And if you come over here to expander, all you really need to do if you've got it on expander is adjust your range and get that right, so it's not too dramatic. Range and threshold. If you're using it, if you have that off, it's a gate, and it's going to give you more of a choppy cutoff if you don't set it right. So you have to pay a lot more attention to how you set it if you're using it as a gate. So I just wanted to show you that, give you some things to think about with vocals. I go through this this 1073 and this 1176 compressor. Many times I'll hit another compressor, plug-in compressor in the DAW. I like going 1176 on the tracking to kind of tame everything, so I don't have these wild peaks, and have to clip gain everything as much. You're still gonna have to clip gain. I thought maybe when I got an outboard compressor that I wouldn't have to clip gain anything anymore, that it would make it so level that I didn't have to do that. Well, you still have to clip gain. Still have to get things even though you're going through an outboard compressor. Adding something like the UAD LA2A or the UAD DBX160, I like both those compressors. For vocals, I usually choose the LA2A with this 1176. It just has a natural sound, and it seems to just make things sound better. It's emulating those tube optical compressor. So anytime you put tubes in the path, it sounds better. Like their Pultec's the same way. It'll give you a cool thing. I like this Better Maker EQ. I've got it on here just because I haven't updated my template in a while. A lot of times now I'll use a real Pultec instead, but this has a Pultec in it. This side over here is a Pultec type EQ, no tubes. This is the actual hardware EQ as well. They look different now, but when they first came out, this is what they look like. You also have some parametric EQ over here. You can see I've got it cutting 360, which is a common EQ move for me. I usually do it on a sharp cue, though. I just haven't changed it in the template. And then I usually cut right around here, around 3.2 or 2.5 or something like that. Or sometimes I'll set this to boost around 5K. I like to do this attenuation and boost on 10K. So it's giving you like if you look at the EQ curve on a Pultec, it's like a dip down. If you boost and cut the same frequency, it's like a dip down and then a sharp rise up if you boost more than you attenuate, and it's a cool sound. So it does the thing, the Pultec thing. How I think about tracking vocals, how I get in the mindset for that, like I've been doing it this week, I've been doing it today. When I'm at work or anytime I can have the song playing, I'll have it on in my earbuds, or I'll be listening to it the whole time I'm tracking, and I'll be getting vocal ideas, right? And then, like at work today, I wrote down just, I think, 4 or 6 lines of the first verse. And then I'll usually do a couple runs, track that in, try and get a feel for how I want to phrase the vocal. And a lot of times it needs to start with like, what's the song going to be about? What's the idea for the song? And then it's never usually my first run at the vocals that I stick with that makes the song. Sometimes I'll think I'll have it great, and then another idea will hit me, or I want to do something different just with the phrasing or the background things, and that leads to something different. Vocals by far is the longest part of the process for me. For a while, it was the hardest thing to mix. For me, drums was difficult at first as well, because you have to learn about phase and things like that. But just getting the vocal level, you can think that the song isn't right. You can think that the song is getting ruined by the vocal, when really it's just you need to do some other processing, or mainly getting the level right. You have to get the level right on the vocal, or the song will feel like shit. Once you get the level right, get your clip gaining right, get it sitting where it needs to be with EQ. EQ is huge with vocals, right? It's if you can EQ a vocal right, you can make things work that you feel like you were never going to be able to get to work. It's just, and it's a thing where you learn what your voice needs. It took me a while to get there. Like, I would get the 10K boost. That was the first piece of the puzzle. Cutting that low, mid, boxy kind of 360 thing was important. I got those. And then still, I found the vocals sometimes would be too harsh. And then once I started doing just a small dip, like on a wide cue in the mid-range, it really helps my vocals sit better, to where once I get the volume level right, it feels right with those EQ curves. And I like to do it with like the Pro Q4 or the Kirchhoff EQ, something where I can see what I'm doing on on a graph, because you still might have some things spiking up, and it's good to be able to see that. You don't have to. I usually don't like to mix with my eyes at all, but for vocals, I like to see what my vocal's doing. It just makes a difference to me, and I feel like I can do more. Another great thing to put on your vocals, and it's easy to like go overboard with it. Occasionally I'll use it on guitars if I have some peaky things, and it's an expensive plug-in, but it's worth it, because you can have a great sounding mix with a great sounding vocal, and do that mix and print it and listen to it, and it sounds great. But then you put Soothe on it and listen to it again, print the same mix just with Soothe on the vocal, or if you have something sticking out on guitars or synthesizers or something, just put Soothe on it. A lot of times you can just pick a preset, like a Greg Wells preset or a Daryl Thorpe preset. put it on there, and it'll just tame these little peaks that you're getting, and the mix sounds better. It's kind of like the thing I do with my mic preamps, where I run the mix back through the mic preamps, and it sounds better 99% of the time. I've only done one mix out of all the songs that I've got out. Only one of them did I pick the in the box mix where I didn't go back through any type of hybrid processing on the mix. And my only hybrid processing that I do at this point, I will send some stuff back out through the 1176 and get that compression instead of using a plug-in on some things. But on the 2-bus, the only thing I'm processing back through is the Chandler TG2 mic preamps, and it always sounds better. I hear the kitten rolling around a pin in there or something. So y'all can probably hear that as well. Do y'all have cats? Like, do you have kittens specifically? Man, he's just everywhere. But it's great to have him around because he's like, they've got such an energy. I got used to having older cats around, and it's a whole different thing with the young kitten because he's just, he's like Spider-Man climbing the walls and everywhere. He's like so curious about outside, but I gotta watch him because I live next to a main road. He's an inside cat. So that's a little bit of the things I like to do with the vocals. And I try to get into thinking about vocals as early as I can in the process of writing. Like, what's this song make me feel like? What do I want this song to be about? And then it's good to just sound out vocals. Like, use syllables, play the track, and, and get your feel for how you want your vocals with just sounds. I've heard people like the Stones do it and call it vowel movement, where they're just singing gibberish but trying to phrase it like words, and then the words come out later. I've seen quite a few people write that way, where it's more like gibberish, or not even saying real words, but they're getting the feel of how the vocal's gonna flow. That's something I do as well. You just want to know how your sounds are gonna fit together at first, and then have your ideas for what the song's gonna be about as well. But before you actually set anything in stone, you want to get the phrasing right and the feel, because as much as drums do, vocals have a rhythm and like a pentameter to them, just a flow. And you can hear it in people that speak with accents. They'll have a different flow. Some people from the South have a slower way that they talk. All of that transfers over to vocals as well. And you have to really think about how you want your vocal to flow, because it can change the whole feel of the song, the speed of the song. It's, something that comes to mind is like Steven Tyler, Walk This Way. He's rapping over the song, and it's definitely giving it emotion that it doesn't have without the vocal. It's definitely, it's got that riff and drum thing, but his vocal is adding to, it's like a churning, and you can get that with different ways that you phrase things. Or maybe you want like a soaring vocal where you're singing long notes and holding them, sustaining them longer, and then doing things. Or maybe you want to do background vocals like that and have your lead vocal singing phrases underneath that, but not as long and drawn out. Like, several times I've put just oohs and ahs in my BGVs, right? Or do a low, almost whisper, because I can get my voice, I have an easier time doing low parts than high parts. So I'll do something high and then counterpoint that with something low. Panning's a big thing. when I do a double of my lead vocal, I'll usually have the lead vocal right down the middle, or I maybe pan it left 2 or 3, 2 or 3 to the left. And then I'll do the double and pan it anywhere from 2 or 3 to the right or 15 to the right. And one plugin I need to show you, if this is something that I almost always use on most of the vocal tracks, and I'll use different presets on it, and I'll change the parameters myself, and it's something that most vocals you hear have in one form or another, and that's also pitch shifting. So if you go to little micro shift, I like regular micro shift actually, with Sound Toys. This is what it looks like. So what it's doing, and actually the people that work at Sound Toys are the people that worked at Eventide. So this is basically an Eventide harmonizer. It's got Eventide harmonizer presets in it, and it also has AMS, like AMS Neve 16. It's a reverb and also pitch shifting thing that was big in the 80s. But Eventide H3000, Eventide harmonizer, where you just get this chorusing, and it's not a true chorusing. It's pitching down one side and pitching up the other side just a few cents to give your vocal a width. Let's look at some of these presets. I have BGV thickener. That's one I like to use actually on BGVs. Lead vocal clarity. That's a good one. And they all, like, some of them will make your vocal feel very wide, and some of it will just kind of make it feel more pointed. I don't know how it does that, but it's like it's giving your vocal a point in the middle, and it's still got things going on to the side, but it's not wide like some of these other presets. And then I'll sometimes, to get something different, I'll pick a preset and then tweak the parameters, the detune, the delay, the mix, and you can see there's stereo background vocal thickener, wide reflections, and these are great presets. Micro Shift Classic, that's a great one. And it's not just for use on vocals, but it's definitely where I use it the most. Like almost all of my vocals get that, or if I'm doing doubles, at least, like if I'm doing a background vocal and then doubling that background vocal exactly, one of them, a lot of times both of them will have micro shift on different presets or different parameters that I've set myself, or at very least one of them will have it and then the other one be dry as far as the micro shift. Delay throws are another thing. So over here, you can still kind of see my aux tracks even though I'm in that corner. I've got some delays and reverbs over here that I'm using for guitars, and they're preset for vocals. And I'll just, if you come over here to your aux send tracks, where I'm at right here, if you just want the reverb to come in heavy at the end of the verse leading into the chorus, you can automate that reverb where it just comes in for certain sections, or the delay if you just want one word of the phrase, like why go, 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 just have that keep repeating. Then you can automate it in these aux sends. So nobody's actually got on the stream, I don't think. I'm not showing it on my YouTube studio here. So if you catch this later, leave me a comment. Let me know how you work in the studio, how you mix vocals, how you think about going about writing your vocals. Do you work out your songs beforehand, like pre-production, before you go in the studio? That would be how I would do it if I didn't have my own studio. But since I have my own studio, I'm always working in it. And I really like the process of writing in the studio. It's cool. I'm ready to get this cat with the newspaper again because he's in there making noise. He's good. Like, a lot of times I'll put him in the bedroom with my son before the live stream, but I couldn't find him before this one. He destroyed that newspaper and then took off on me. He's good at hiding because he's still pretty little. And then he knows how to, he needs attention. He's a baby, right? So he's good at getting his attention and being crazy all at the same time. We're getting close to an hour. Maybe I'll play some guitar for a minute. I don't know. I haven't really warmed up or anything much, but just to get something going, different. I'll play you. I know what I'll do. I'll set this Bigsby pedal, and I'll show you the riff from this song. So you can see how that goes, like the main riff. So I've got a Bigsby pedal on the floor, and it's also got a latching pedal attached to it that you have to buy that separate. But so instead of doing those Bigsby bends, if you want to, you can set it for a high strung part, pitch it up 12, semitones, or you can pitch it down to a baritone and like latch that pedal down. And that's what I did. That's how I get the baritone sound in this song. So I'll play it for you, and then I'll show you the riff, the baritone riff real quick. So here it goes. So that's the riff, and it's just pitched down to B on the Bigsby pedal. Standard tune. Let me mute this mic so you're not hearing that. So I took the latching off. Do y'all like rotary pedals? A lot of times in the DAW, I love to put rotary on. Even on vocals, it's great, and the UA waterfall's great. But recently, I got the Keeley I Get Around pedal, which is Keeley also has the new rotary pedal out. This is like the same box basically. I thought it was going to be pretty much the same pedal, but actually Robert Keeley got with me on social media and told me that it was a little bit different. But it's when the Beach Boys movie came out, him and Josh from JHS did some pedals for that movie, like as promo or something, and so it's the I Get Around pedal rotary, and it sounds great. So let me let you hear that. This is on a, like, you can ramp it up from slow to fast. This is, I think, slow. Yeah. That's how I like to work in the studio. I like to. So this is digital. I'm usually going through real amps. I'm always a lot more inspired. And I didn't get a lot of time to play tonight, but I'm always a lot more inspired with the real amps on. But I'm still working out the kinks with getting the amps right for live without going through any kind of processing in DAW. It sounded like I have a JBL, which is a very clean speaker, and it sounded on the Twin anyway. I also have a dual rectifier over here, a Tremo Verb, but the amp I used on the 2 times that I tried to use the amp on the live stream, it sounded okay, but it sounded very direct. And I was thinking maybe it's because to mute my mic, I turn on DI on the other input of my mic preamp, and it mutes this mic because I'm actually going through 2 preamps, the Neve, and then through the compressor, and then into a TG2 mic preamp for this mic, so I can get the compression and the summing. And I was thinking maybe that DI, even though it's on the other side, since there's summing, maybe that's giving my amp sound more of a direct feel. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it should, but if you got any insight on that, let me know. So we're going to cut the stream off. I'm going to play you out with a different song. We're getting right up on the hour now, so we went the whole hour. That's what I'm. That's been the. That's been where I want to keep these streams at. I feel like, you know, if we get the viewers up and get the chat rolling, things like this, an hour is a good length of time. You know, we can have some interactions, and it doesn't feel like it's cut too short, and actually get some things done, some things talked about, and get some work done. Like if I'm mixing a song like I did on the last live stream, I actually got some work done, had the camera on, and showing that while I got the work done. So I'm going to play you out with, I'll actually put a video up. It's like I do these tracking videos when I'm creating songs, and I'll play you one of those. Hold on just a minute. Let's see. Let me make this big again. And let's get a song going here. Alright. How about this? Let's do this one. And you all have a good night. I'll be doing another live stream probably Thursday during the day. I'm trying out different times to see what works best, where I get the most views, and where it feels like the algorithm actually lets people see this. And if people chat with me, I'm gonna, you know, try and hit different times, try and work on things in different ways. We're just experimenting, throwing stuff against the wall, see what sticks. No matter what, we're going to be creating music. And so if you catch this video later, subscribe to the channel. I haven't been putting out regular, you know, edited, not live YouTube videos the past 2 weeks since I've been doing these live streams. So the channel needs a bump, and you'll dig the stuff. And we're going to keep this like educational, try and you know, show how we do things musically, and I'm approaching that from different ways: guitar, drums, mixing, songwriting, getting things out in the world, all things music. That's what I do, that's what I love to do. And here's some music. Have a good night.